Last week I wanted to continue working on this chuck here, but I was unable to do so because I had a lot of other things to do. But today I can finally continue because I managed to find some time in this drawer here. Now, what are we talking about here? The plan is to install this old chuck here on something solid that doesn't move. So we are able to install, for example, studs or spacer bars or old bolts that are rusted and the nut doesn't spin very well. Put them in here and then with some anti-rust or something and then make them move again. Which means that I need to build a support out of steel in T-shape. A plate that comes on the back here, bolted with these special bolts in here. And then a bottom plate that I can fix on something solid. And to make this support, all material I could find is this piece of rusty steel here. And I marked a little bit layout lines with chalk. So I will cut them out with the angle grinder and clean them up also with the angle grinder. And because working with an angle grinder always makes a lot of dust and a terrible mess. And that's why I will do it outside. What last week wasn't possible because of the weather. But as you can see, at least now it doesn't rain anymore. But now it's freezing. That's not much better. I'm making a little bit the outlines, so after I can, with the belt sander, cut it straight and square and everything. And of course, this is where I see that I made a little mistake. The width is 1 millimeter less than I wanted, but that's okay. I will cheat a bit, that's not really a problem. And in the height, I don't want the chuck to sit directly on this plate. So I thought leaving 10 millimeter free space between two. And when I started to cut out, I didn't think of it anymore. So now it's a tiny bit too short. I wanted it to be 310 and not 300, which means that I will have to cheat again with my XXL comparator here. A little bit bigger. I will make it work. I think like this it will be good enough. Of course there's a little chunk missing here, but what to do? Now, to determine the position of these 3 holes here, for the bolts, I already installed one here. Very easy. I would like to have the chuck key up here, more or less vertical. A few degrees off, we don't care. More or less vertical. So it's very simple. I take my square, put it more or less in the center, take my high precision measurement thing here, and then I see that the diameter of this hole is 110. Let's set it here at half, 55, and then take the measurement distance between the center line, first bolt, 100. And I did exactly the same here. Square line, and then you can see it on camera, but I center pointed it. This is this point between center and then 100. And to determine the 2 other holes, all I did was use my dividers, the radius between center and this point, and then copy it 6 times, and now I know that I need to drill here somewhere, and down here somewhere. Since I have the milling machine, I don't use this thing much anymore. So in fact now I'm happy to play with it again. Slow it down. To determine the position of these holes here, I took measurements with my not really precise measuring tool here, and just to be sure it would fit, I drilled the holes way bigger than officially needed. And of course, it still didn't fit. And then I took a file and I made the holes a little bit oval, and now it fits. It's just that these bolts are hard to turn. Maybe I should clean these threads in here a little bit with a tap. Much better. And because I'm not using the back plate, that is part of this chuck, of course now these bolts are too long. And they are not completely threaded. There is a part here without thread, so even if I cut a piece off, they still won't work. But this is, I will check on my tab here. This is a 1/2 inch thread. It's not metric, and I don't have studs or bolts or nothing for this. So what I think I'm gonna do, I will make 3 little bushings that go around a bit the idea of a very thick washer. And to make these little bushings, I think I found exactly what I need. This is a piece of something shaft with a keyway in here, but that's okay. So all I'm gonna do is drill a hole in here and then cut 3 pieces to length and over to the lathe. Doesn't go deeper. Because of the face of this part isn't square at all, the center drill of course drills without any problem. It's very rigid. But my 7.5mm pre-drill wanted to follow this sloopy face here instead of the center, and that's why you saw it wobbling. So now I reinstalled the center drill and very slowly drilled way too deep, and now it will work. Same problem again. Now of course what happens here makes perfect sense. If a drill bit has to drill a hole and the drill bit is square with this surface, the point of the drill bit is gonna search a little bit and then find its own center and start drilling. If this surface, just like in this case here, is not square, the drill bit will try to escape and the hole will be out of center, of course. I managed to have the hole again in the center. Not perfectly, but for this thing, it's not important. I think this will work. And now I have to figure out a way to make a 110mm hole here in this plate. Of course the same diameter than the chuck itself. and eye boring bar in the milling machine, for example, too small. Of course, I can make a tool that fits here in the side, that sticks out here, and then make it adjustable, and that's perfectly possible. But on this distance, the cutting forces on this head will be a little bit too much. So what I did, because this is old and rusty steel and it's very hard on tooling, I took an old drill bit that I don't care too much about, and I drilled as much as I could holes in here. And then I can install my workpiece here in the decal and use this 16mm high-speed steel completely worn cutter that I think don't even cut anymore. I mean, I don't care too much about this one, it's worth nothing. And then I can nibble in these holes and make the circle pattern. Of course, it will not be circular or perfect, but who cares? Primitive. And this is more or less how it should look like once finished. The big hole I just made, of course it's not welded yet, it's just put a little bit together. And I would like to make some reinforcement here to prevent it from wiggling. And first I thought using these two little cutoffs here, but I think it's gonna be too small. And luckily I have, it's heavy, a little piece of leftover of this same plate here. If I cut two strips here, I can install one here and of course one on the other side. And if I'm lucky, I don't need to angle grind it. Maybe I can cut it in the pan. So yeah, that could work. I will probably have to cut it in 2 times because of this top part here is gonna touch this here, but we'll see. And indeed, we're touching here, and I need to go down maybe 30mm more. That's not a problem. Oh, this is a problem. Oops. Now what? Who would have thought that after all these years there's still so much stress in this plate? What happened is it moved a little bit backwards and it closes. So I'm gonna try give it a touch of chisel. Nope. It's free! I finally managed to cut out these little braids here. But, okay, of course they come here and the other one on the other side. And I tried to clean up as much as possible on the belt sander. And we'll see. Normally, if you want to make welds with this thing here, the surfaces has to be clean, almost spotless. And here it's not really possible. So if I see I cannot MIG weld it, I will go over to stick weld. Of course, stick weld also needs to be clean, but it's a little bit more forgiving. And here it is, all assembled and of course also welded together. And on the other side I installed this little thing here. If now they lose the key, it's not my fault. That's all very nice, but now I'm left here with this backplate that for me is perfectly useless. So I suppose I will turn it into a big paperweight. Let's try. It works! It could well be that today is my lucky day, because as you can see, it doesn't rain anymore. There's even an array of sunshine. So I propose let's go over there and see if we can find a good spot to install the thing. And even here at the tram depot, the weather is fine. It's a little bit cold, but that's okay. And I think I found a very nice spot to install the chuck. If I turn around, now I'm going a little bit handheld because I forgot my tripod at home. But here you see my angle grinder that I installed for the moment on this flat car. And this thing, we use it when we go work along the tracks. So if I install the chuck on here, every time we go somewhere, we have it with us. As you can see, I just made 4 little welds. So if one day they decide to take it off, it will be easy. Just cut these welds off with a grinder and Bob's your uncle. My job is now finished. All I had to do was to build it. And to use it, that will be for somebody else.